open courseware. This class is political sociology. My name is Professor Joseph Lee. I was actually born in Korea, Gwangju, and then I moved to America when I was 8. I did a lot of teaching and research in America, and now I'm here in Korea. Please tell me if you have any suggestion for making this class better. 들어오세요. Yes, 들어오세요. And then everything that I say will also be in 한영인, the lecture note. 앞으로 앉으세요. Okay. Today we'll be discussing political sociology. We'll be examining some of the most innovative theories and practices in democratic governance, or the partnership of government and society to address common problems. We focus on USA and South Korea, but we welcome comparisons to other countries. Okay. Now, so political sociology implies the relationship between government and society. Another term for this is public administration. And then there's an old model, which is that whenever there's government policies, it's government that implements the policies. Okay? But today there's a new model where we have government and society, government and social actors. We work together to implement public policy. And we call this governance, not government. Okay? Now, everybody heard of the term government, right? What does government mean? What's your name? Okay. So when you think of government, what does that mean? Okay? Or you're getting ready. What's your name? Okay. You're from Japan? Oh. Hajimemashite. Yes. All right. We love Japanese people. Well, we love everybody, okay? Especially handsome men and women. Okay, now, when you hear the word government, what comes to mind? Government means what? What's an example of government? Yeah, maybe like the president, or what's a very important government institution? Like what are the most important institutions of government, organizations of government? Like the army or schools, public schools, okay? And so when you think of armies or public schools or police, you think these are just government workers. They do the job, whether it's defending our nation, educating children, making our streets safe, okay? But that's like the old model. We call that government. The new model we call governance. Governance implies that in order to govern our society, in order to educate children, make our country safe, we need a partnership between government and society. Okay? And then one example is education. Okay? So I'm going to first give you a US example, a Korea example, and then maybe you can tell me about a Japanese example. Okay? The US example is education. Okay? And then in the old days, we had in the old days in the United States, people thought that the best government is a small government, okay? Because Americans wanted to maximize liberty. Do you know what liberty means? What's liberty in Korean or Japanese? Yeah, HYU. People wanted more freedom. So they thought smaller government is better, okay? But then later, people thought that maybe we need, maybe small government is not enough because we need to do more and more things. So people wanted big government, okay? But then sometimes government cannot solve every problem. So now we're rethinking what is the role of government and society, okay? So now, an example from the United States is that, and the example comes from the New Orleans, okay? Because have you heard of New Orleans, the city? It's a very famous city in the South, okay? And so many American cities, students are poor. Many of them are African American. Their education score is very low, okay? And in New Orleans, only 30% of students would actually pass the exam. Only 30% or get a satisfactory level. Do you understand? Okay. Hello, what's your name?
My name is Taehyang.
Taehyang. Are you from Korea? Oh, good. We love Korea. Okay. I love all your countries. All right. So we're talking about the difference between government and governance. Okay? The old model is just government does everything, such as schools or police or army, right? But the new model is governance, okay? Where government and society, we work together to solve problems. And then I'm going to give you examples from United States, Korea, and maybe Japan or other countries that you know. And the example from United States is public education in New Orleans. Because there was a big hurricane in 2006? 2005, okay? So before the hurricane, the local government ran the public schools, and the students, only 30% passed. Okay? It was terrible, right? And so after there was a big hurricane in 2005, it destroyed all the schools. And so people said that maybe this would be a good opportunity to do a new system of education, so more students will actually learn and pass. Okay? And so instead of going back to the old model where everybody just went to government school, now we have a new model where students, they can go anywhere they want to get an education. Just to give you an example, in both Korea and Japan, where did you go to school? Where did you go to school? Public school or private school? When you're like 초등학교, elementary school. Yeah, you went to public school, right? And yeah, so most of you went to public school. Can you choose which public school you want to go to? No. What?
We have choices.
Oh, it's a lottery.
Yeah.
So you cannot choose, right?
But the choices are very few.
Okay, so, there's not that much choice anyway. Okay? But imagine, instead of going to that public school, you can actually just go to 학원. Or in Japan, it's called what? Yeah, juku. Okay? So you can choose. You can either go to public school, or you can go to 학원, or if you don't like that 학원, your parents and teachers can build a new 학원, or juku. And depending on the number of students, you get money from the government. In America, we call that charter school. Do you understand? And so parents and teachers can come together, and as long as they have a certain minimum number of students, they can just create a charter school. So students have a choice. And that is an example of governance, where the government might give you money, but the actual job of teaching the students comes from parents, from teachers, from society actors. Do you understand? So that's an example. And we'll be reading more about this on Friday from the New York Times. Okay. And so instead of 30% passing, we're going to be reading on Friday that the passing rate jumped from 30 to 60%. Okay? Because many students, they actually learn more at the 학원, the charter school, or the zuku than the public school. Did you have that experience? That maybe you might learn more at the 학원? Where did you learn more, at the public school or at the 학원? 학원? What's your name? Okay, Miss Cho. Why did you learn more at the 학원? Teachers were better, students were better, or just better system? Okay, so Ms. Choi said it was a better system, it was a faster system. You learned much more quickly. Was it because the classes were smaller or just the teacher was better? So I want you to think about that, okay? And so the idea is that many Koreans, many Japanese, they never think that, oh, maybe I don't have to go to a public school. Maybe I can go to a different kind of school, and the government can pay. And so we can reconceptualize, rethink what public education is. So instead of a monopoly, now you have competition. Okay? And so that's a governance model. Okay? However, in many countries such as Korea, we do not have governance. We do not have competition. We just have government. Just one monopoly. What does a monopoly mean? Choice or no choice? No choice. Only one. You can only go to one school, right? So historically, Korea has been a very highly centralized system. Okay? Centralized means everything centered. Okay? And so, well, in Korea, all major societal institutions are oriented towards the elite. Okay? So if you live in Jibang, you all want to live where? Seoul. Okay? And so in the old days, you wanted to live in Seoul and you wanted to work where? You wanted to what? Well, in the old days, Gangnam wasn't that good. Okay? Today, Gangnam is good, right? But in the old days, you wanted to, Hanyang, and also you wanted to work in the government bureaucracy. So everybody worked hard to get into government bureaucracy. Okay? Today, people still work hard and take tests, right? To get in where? What do young people spend years and years studying for? To get into what? Sky. Right. How about in Japan? Everybody wants to get into what? Yeah, Todai. Do you see? So in Japan and Korea, it's very centralized. Okay? Everybody wants to go to the elite. Okay? Whether it's Todai or in Korea, it's maybe Sky. Seoul, Korea, Yonsei University. Okay? And then when you have this kind of elite tendency, there's no other kinds of institutions. So specifically, when everybody wants to be part of the center, it undermines independent, stable, non-elite organizations. In Korea, local schools are not important. Local schools are only important to get into the top universities. So people are not loyal to your elementary school, your 초등학교. You're only loyal to Seouldae. Okay? And then same thing with political parties. Political parties are not important. They're only important so you can become president. Okay? In contrast, in a society which is more, okay. So, and the way you can link this to education is that right now the Korean government is very friendly or hostile to hagwons. Right, it's hostile to hagwons. They don't like this kind of competition. Okay? And they passed many laws to limit hagwons. I think a couple of years ago they prevented them from having classes after like 10 or 11, after 10. And then this year they passed a new law that says that you cannot advertise 광고 any advanced class because it's not fair. Do you see? Okay. And they mandate that Korean high schools and universities, when you have entrance exam, you can only give questions based on regular school curriculum. So the government passes many, many laws to regulate the education sector. Okay. Whereas whereas it's different in America, there is more freedom, there is more choice. So a university in America can give any entrance exam you want. Okay, so there is more choice. Okay, now, how about in Japan? Is it same, or is there lots of choice? Is it very centralized? Is it like Korea? Or do you feel that it's more decentralized? It's very centralized. So basically, everybody wants to live in Tokyo, and everybody wants to go to Todai, and they all want to live in, and everybody wants to work for Toyota, Honda, Sony. Okay, people still want to work at Sony. Isn't Samsung better? I used to love Sony. Sony Walkman. So Sony was the best. Now it's like, I hear they make more money from selling insurance than from electronics. Anyway, so in Tokyo you have the 3 T's, right? Everybody wants to go to Tokyo, go to Todai, work for Toyota, right? Whereas here is all like, the 3 S's, right? Live in Seoul, go to Seouldae, work for Samsung. Yes. So, and then, so you have to ask, like, is Korea destined? Is Japan destined to always be stuck that way? Or can we change? Can we decentralize like America? Okay? So those are among the many questions that we ask. And we also ask, what can government do to make society more centralized or more decentralized? Do you understand? I don't know about Japan, but these days in Korea, centralization, decentralization is a very important political issue, right? What is a centralization in Korean? 집중?
Yes.
What is decentralized? 분산. Okay. Is that an important issue in Japan? Centralizing versus decentralized? Okay. And what is the word for decentralized? What is the Japanese word for decentralized? 문삭? Okay. So government is trying to, so in Korea, government is trying to help, like, for example, local business. Because too many people because government thinks big companies are too powerful. So they want to help small business, right? But the question is, are the policies actually working? So there was an interesting article about how, I'll read this together. Currently, the government offers 160 incentives, benefits, including tax benefits for small and medium enterprise. Okay? So government gives many benefits to small companies, and they give many rules and regulations, extra taxes for big companies. Okay? So is that a good idea or a bad idea? What are the pros and cons? So do you understand? So right now, I don't know about, does the Japanese government do the same thing? Do they give many benefits to small businesses? Okay, find out. Okay? In Korea, government spends a lot of money. They give many benefits to small business. And big companies, they have to pay more tax. They have to follow more regulations, such as, like, they have to pay normal wage. They have to give many benefits to workers. There's many rules they have to follow. So, is this a good policy for small businesses, or is that a bad policy? What are the pros and cons? It might be good if you're a small business owner. This might be good because why? Come on, why would it be good? Okay, let's go one by one. What's your name? Okay, what? No Daehyang. Mr. No? Okay, now Mr. No. So government gives you lots of money, tax cuts if you're a small business. Is that good for you?
Sure.
Yeah, sure, why not? More money, right? Now, imagine why that might be bad for you. So government gives you a lot of money if you're a small business, right? Let's say small business means less than 50 workers. Okay? So it sounds good, but what might be the bad thing? Right, okay? So for the OCW audience, right, motivation is small. So Mr. No is saying that, well, if government gives me all these benefits and tax cuts, then I want to remain a small business. I don't want to grow. Because if I grow and I become a big business, then I get all these new taxes, new regulations. I get more burden. We call that 부담. Okay? And so this actually discourages small businesses from growing. Do you understand? So this might actually be counterproductive. This means that small businesses are weak and they cannot challenge the big companies. So this means that Samsung won't have any competition, because no company none of the small businesses will want to become a big business. That means Samsung has no competition. Do you understand? Right. So this can actually be bad for decentralization. Do you understand? So it's kind of a counterproductive policy. You can contrast this to United States because, for example, in California, what's a really big business? I'm from California. I studied at Berkeley. Berkeley's near where? Yeah, Silicon Valley. And what are some big companies in Silicon Valley? Like what? Give me a name. What? Microsoft is actually in Seattle. Okay. But what do you use? For example, do you use Facebook? Yeah, Facebook, right? And many people use Facebook. I love Google. Okay, right? But anyway, Facebook is a big company or a small company? It's a very big company, right? I think it's worth more than maybe 10 or 20. It's worth a lot of money. Okay, I think it. I think Apple is. Apple is. But I think Facebook is the largest social networking site. Okay? I think it might be worth like $20 or $30 billion. Okay? And so if Facebook was in Korea, it's a big company, right? But if you have a small company, do you want to become like Facebook? Well, maybe not, right? Because you have all these, you get so much benefit for being a small internet company, you don't want to be a big company. And so it's very hard to find new companies that were challenged like Samsung, okay? But in California, we don't have that. There's no real benefit to being a small company, okay? And so in California and Silicon Valley, many small companies, their dream is to what? Be a big company, okay? And so, so there was a really fun story with WhatsApp. You heard of WhatsApp, right? Okay, I don't think it's very popular in Korea yet, right? It's like the American version of Kakao. Have you heard of WhatsApp? Okay, but it's like the American Kakao, okay? It's very easy to send text, 문자, okay? And what's funny is that the founder of WhatsApp, he and his partners actually applied for a job at Facebook, but they got rejected. Just like you when you applied to Seoulde. Okay, but in Korea, when you get rejected from Seoulde, Samsung, how do you feel?
Very depressed.
Yes, and you think, right? And you think you're first class or second class, right? You think you're second class. You think your people who work at Samsung are better than you, right? You think that, right? Okay, don't think like that. Think that I am better than the person who went to Seoulde. Okay. Anyway, so the founder of WhatsApp, he's actually an immigrant from, I think, Russia. Okay? And when they first came to America, they were very poor. They had to get food stamps from the government. Okay? And, he didn't get into top university like Stanford or Berkeley. He went to 주립대학교, San Jose State. Okay? It's like going to like 인천대학교, right? So and then he got, he applied to Facebook and he got rejected. So he went to, he worked at Yahoo. 창피해. My email is Yahoo. Right? Because Yahoo used to be really popular, but not so popular now, right? But anyway, but later he said that I want to, if I cannot join Facebook, I'm going to create a company that can be better than Facebook. So he created WhatsApp. And so it was very easy for people to network, to send 문자 and text and voice and everything. And then, a couple of months ago, he actually sold his company to Facebook for $16 billion. Do you see? And then one of the reasons why Facebook bought his company was because they wanted the founder to work at Facebook. So it's basically saying, if you work for us, I will give you like $1 billion bonus. I will basically buy your company. And then 그 대신, in return, you will help make Facebook better. Do you see? And so the dream of Americans is, if I don't get into like top university, top company, I'm just gonna create my own. I'm gonna create my own school, create my own company and become better and bigger. And that kind of competition leads to, like, so there is no monopoly. There is no Samsung that controls everything. There is always competition and change. Okay? So you have to think about what kind of government policies can help promote centralization versus what kind of policies can promote decentralization. Okay? So maybe in Korea, policies are promoting centralization, no competition to Samsung. Okay? Whereas in America, historically policy, not all, but some key policies supported decentralization. So one key policy is what we talked about in New Orleans, where you allow parents to create their own schools for competition. Okay? Another example is that when America was first founded, instead of putting in a lot of money and creating University of Washington, D.C., okay? So in Korea, Japan, the best university is a national university, right? Right. Do we have University of Washington, D.C. in America? Is it number one? No. Right. So what are the best universities in America? Are they all in D.C.? No, right? And one reason is because government decided not to. They decided to give money to states, like local states, to create their own universities. So instead of top national university, we have many good state universities, such as what?
UCLA.
Yeah, like UCLA, UC Berkeley. So in California has Berkeley and UCLA, okay? And UC San Diego. And then how about state of Washington? They have what? University of Washington. It's very easy. When I ask you, what's the top state university in Washington? Just the University of Washington. How about in Michigan? It's called University of what? Michigan. Or Oregon, or University of Tennessee, or University of Texas, right? And by giving, so Congress gave grant to states so they can create their own state universities. So the best universities are spread out. And if you have good university, you can create a good industry. Okay? So University of Texas, what's the famous computer company near Texas? Well, it's Michael Dell. So he went to University of Texas for 1 year. He dropped out, but he liked the area, so he stayed. Okay? Phil Knight went to University of Oregon. And he created what? Shoes, Nike. Okay, and back then, University of Oregon was very famous for having good runners. So Oregon has a very running culture, outdoor culture. Okay, so he decided to create running shoes. Okay, so he created Nike, and it's still near the University of Oregon. Okay, and then University of Washington, that's where Microsoft is. Okay. And so by giving money to all the different states, you were able to create really good state universities all over the nation. And that's why American economy is much more decentralized. So you have to think about what kind of policies will promote centralization, monopoly, what kind of policies will promote more decentralization, and also more participation from society. Do you understand? Okay. So let's take a quick 1-minute break, stretch, and then we'll start again.